What is going on, motherfuckers? You may remember me from a previous video you may have watched on this channel, or you may know me from a channel that I also own called Ave Abaddon DCXVI. I have recently decided to revive this channel as well as that one. The only difference is this channel I'm going to be taking a bit more laid back and doing things a little bit more chill and less formal than the other channel I'm going to be using. The other channel is going to be a little bit more longer videos, a little bit more serious, and generally speaking, I'll try to be a little bit more formal there. Not always, but on this channel, I'm going to be a lot more, how do I say, personal. This is a smaller channel than my other channel. I took a break from making content whatsoever, period. But I wanted to inform everyone that I do have a public TikTok now. You can find me now at Abaddon DCXVI. It's ABADDON DCXVI. Or, if you want to, you can add me on Snapchat for a limited time at ABADDON DCXVI. I just want to make sure that that is clear because I don't want to have people going to the wrong person. But anyways, as you may remember me, I'm making another video on this channel, and you're here for that, and it's great to know that people still want to watch my stuff. What better way to do that than to actually go and revisit somebody who I used to make frequent videos on? Do you remember A Call for an Uprising? Guess what? He's back with a new channel called A Time for Judgment. It's honestly really funny that he thinks that just slightly altering his name and pushing out the same rhetoric is going to fool YouTube from actually taking action when he actually breaks terms of service.
This is A Time for Judgment. Welcome to today's show. I want to cover this article from the World Economic Forum's website, and it's about your allowance. Remember when you were a kid and you might have an allowance, right? You didn't have a job, you were too young to work, but mom and dad would say, take out the garbage, you get $20 for the week, you got to do your chores. Well, that's pretty much how our government is planning on treating us, with an allowance. We'll all have the same allowance and everything will be equal, but you're not going to be able to use your electricity as much as you want. You're not going to be able to breathe as much as you want because you're not going to be able to go outside because you're going to be imprisoning yourself because you're going to have a carbon allowance and you're going to be taxed if you go above your carbon emission. Now, people hear about climate change and they don't get it. They literally think that something's going on. Now, there is weather manipulation, which I've covered with HAARP and CERN and other things where we know that they manipulate the weather. They have the ability to manipulate the weather. But overall, the climate hoax is one of the biggest hoaxes and biggest scams ever.
Dude, there's really no excuse for you to keep pulling this conspiracy theory bullshit. I mean, come on, man. You are how many years of age and you're still following this tinfoil hat bullshit? I mean, come on. The government probably has means to control the weather, but outside of getting islander poor people to move out of their country so they can use it as a military installation, I can't really see a use for it. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
People who believe in climate change and global warming are possibly the dumbest people that have ever existed in the history of humanity.
Right, not the people that believe that there's fucking Illuminati, reptilian, Satanist, pedophile rings going around. Not the people that believe that trannies are out to fucking sexualize your children inherently. Not the people that are going around telling people that there's no be-all, end-all, and then going ahead and saying, yes, there is, it's called Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, using Jesus Christ as a means to make money when Jesus Christ hated money. He, in fact, was basically a communist before communism had a name.
And I think it's hard to even make that argument, that they're not. They believe in this stuff and they don't realize what the overall agenda is, which is control, which is enslavement, which is controlling your movement, tracking your every move. That's what the government's plan is. Let me show you about this carbon allowance, and I'll go over what's on the World Economic Forum's website. But this is what the carbon allowance is all about.
He goes on to show us a video from multiple different sources that essentially explain that the UK is implementing something where they're going to keep track of your carbon emissions via electricity and, fossil fuel usage to ensure that if you go over a certain amount, you're going to be taxed based on using a bunch of basically unhealthy shit for the environment. And it goes on to just kind of show you that they are kind of keeping track of what you're using and how you're using it type of deal. But the point he's trying to make here is that they shouldn't be doing that, period. I don't think it's inherently wrong. A little weird that they have to constantly be watching it, but I mean, they're trying to do it for a noble reason. It's not like they're doing it because they have a sinister, evil plot. I'm sure he thinks it's a sinister evil plotter, has some fucking darker evil meaning, but that's kind of just because he's a fucking conspiracy theorist.
It's frightening. It's frightening that people actually don't see what the overall agenda is here. And they think that they're so correct about this stuff. And they're like, oh, I disagree with this guy because I don't like the sound of his voice. And he's questioning Bill Nye and he's questioning what the government is telling us. When we're all as citizens on the same side here, we're all going to be enslaved. And if you're somebody who wants to be enslaved and locked down and
I got news for you, bozo. You already are. You have to work a fucking 40 hours a week job, sometimes work 2 of those jobs, so you're basically working 80 hours a fucking week just so you can afford a tiny little apartment that barely gives you the basic room that you need to have a fucking family and actually do anything productive with your life.
your home. And, you know, if you're somebody out there who's like a gamer and you're like, oh, I play video games and you don't want to work and all that stuff, you aren't going to be playing video games 24/7. They're going to control the power grid. They're going to control your movements. They're going to control what you do.
I swear, dude, you say the dumbest fucking shit all the time. Guess what? The power is already controlled by the fucking government. You know how it's controlled by the fucking government? The government controls the companies, and the companies control the government. You know why? Because money makes the world go around. I don't know if you know that, but guess what? That's the world we've been living in for a while. Guess what? Most gamers work because to buy new games, you have to have fucking money.
And they're pretty much going to tell you to put a blindfold on, go in your closet and go to sleep and be lucky that we feed you our Soylent Green product when we're ready to. So this is from the World Economic Forum's website. And this article came out a couple weeks ago. They say, while transport and buildings are the major drivers for emissions in cities, the share of individual emissions is significant. Yeah, because they're talking about the air that you breathe.
Oh my fucking god, dude. That is not the language they just fucking used. You know what they said? Individual emissions. You know what that accounts for? Using your fucking car. Using your fucking fireplace. Using your fucking grill. Using anything that uses some sort of emission or produces unnecessary heat or waste energy, you fucking imbecile.
And you're a threat to humanity for breathing air. That's how insane this is. And they somehow convince people that this is real and it's not about control. Personal carbon allowance programs have had limited success due to a lack of awareness and fair mechanism for tracking emissions. In other words, they want more access and more ability to be able to track you, like that credit card I just showed you. What's the purpose of the credit card with the carbon on it? It tracks your carbon? Tracking you. That's what it's about, because every single thing that you do will have to do with exhaling. It'll have to do with breathing and exhaling. Thus, they'll want to people think about it, they're like, oh, it has everything to do with my car, and I'll take a bicycle instead. And they don't realize you're going to be breathing out, okay? Breathing out carbon dioxide. And at some point, they're going to say, yeah, well, oh, in addition to your car and your home and how much electricity you use, we're also going to need you to not breathe outside. Because
you will find anything to spin a conspiracy about, you fucking idiot. You really will. I'm actually fucking impressed just how stupid you are.
it's affecting the climate. So please stay indoors. Keep your Ring on. Keep your Alexa on so we can monitor you and listen to you. Because, again, there's not enough prison cells for what these people want to do to all of us. There's just not. So the home becomes the prison, and we enslave ourselves, and you're in the middle of a trial run. They just did it for 2 years where people enslave themselves. You might still see some of these mentally just dumbed down zombies who are still walking around covering their faces at this point.
Must eat brains, and I must worship the fucking Yahweh.
Not being self-aware at all of the fact that this affects their health by walking around smothering their face 24/7. They are so dumb, it is frightening. See, the problem is that people don't believe that there are wicked and sick people who want to do this to humanity.
No, the problem is that we have psychopathic, internet know-it-all conspiracy theorists who spin these lies to us, and we don't want to follow that nonsense because it's not scientifically backed up, and the credibility of the people that give us these videos, like yourself, are people that are homophobic, racist, sexist, and a lot of times Christian.
Because they're naive, which is why, the liberal hive mind people, They are naive fools. They're the type of people who get trampled in life. And that's why they
That's funny, considering that you have this victim mentality when it comes to Christians and people like yourself when you get called out for being liars.
complain and they cry about everything. And even when they get their way, they complain and they cry because they're weak and they're naive. So they don't think that there's actual people that are this sick. Yet they watch all these movies with these characters who are dictators or trying to control, or movies like Hunger Games. And they can't connect the fact that they're trying to tell you what their plan is for us. And then they think we're all tinfoil hat crazy people when we see these people, when we see an experiment like Event.
I just want to cut you off there before I end the video here. Guess what, buddy? Movies are not directed by the government. And guess what? Do you think that an enemy of a people would really just openly say, hey, I'm going to make this movie here. And guess what? It's going to be exactly what I'm going to do to you. First, I'm going to nuke the entire planet except for us elites. And then I'm going to fucking repopulate the earth with only rich people, eventually creating a society where everyone else who once lived before is dead. And it's only my kids and it's all a fucking hive mind. It's like, what? It doesn't make sense. You sound like a fucking tinfoil hat idiot. I'm sorry, man. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, leave a comment. Give me some ideas for other people to tackle. Like, it could literally be anybody, to be honest. I'm willing to take a look at anything, as long as it's not too political.
I do the same thing I told you that I never would. I told you I changed, even when I knew I never could. Know that I can't find nobody else as good as you.